In the professional world, especially in fields like law, there's a huge shift happening right now. The whole model of what entry-level work even is, well, it's being totally rewritten by a new kind of technology. So today, we're going to dive into this transformation, the rise of the AI agent. And that, quote, it just nails it. For decades, firms have just accepted that doing all that high-volume, tedious work was a necessary cost. But today, that cost isn't just a number on a spreadsheet anymore. It's a massive strategic liability. This is really a story about efficiency, about precision, and a totally new economic reality. So here's how we're going to break it down. We'll start with how the very structure of these firms is changing, then we'll look at the technology that's making it all happen. After that, we'll explore its impact on accuracy, and finally, we'll get into the powerful financial case for this new digital workforce. Okay, first up, let's talk about a fundamental change in how work gets done. The days of having an army of junior employees handle all the mind-numbing drudge work, yeah, those days aren't just ending, they're actually becoming a competitive disadvantage. Right, so think about that classic firm structure, a huge base of interns and junior associates handling all the tedious stuff, all to support a few senior experts at the top. Well, that whole model is being completely flipped on its head. The time it takes to train a person, to fix their mistakes, to manage that whole learning curve, honestly, it's a luxury that modern, high-speed firms just can't afford anymore. Okay, so let's put these two head to head, because this is where it gets really interesting. On one side, you've got the human intern. They're expensive, they make more mistakes as the day goes on, and you can't just ask them to do 1,000 things at once. On the other side, the AI agent. It's a low monthly subscription, it is absolutely tireless and consistent. It can scale from one task to 10,000 in an instant, and it already knows everything it needs to know from day one. I mean, the contrast is just stark. So what's actually powering all this? Let's get into the tech. Because we're not just talking about a smarter chatbot here, this is a completely different kind of AI. One that doesn't just talk to you, it actually gets things done. And this timeline just puts the jump we've made into perfect perspective. Just a couple years ago, we were all wowed by generative AI. You asked a question, it gave you an answer, it was a tool that helped you compose things. But now, we're talking about agentic AI. You give it a goal, and it becomes a worker, figuring out and executing all the steps to get there. It's really the difference between having an oracle and having an employee. So how does it actually, think? Well, imagine you tell it to review 50 different contracts. The AI agent kicks off this multi-step process. First, it pulls out all the important clauses. Then it compares them against your company's specific rules. After that, it flags any problems or risks it finds, and then it actually drafts the changes needed. And finally, it bundles all of that into a neat, clean report for you, the human expert, to give that final stamp of approval. It's basically doing the whole thought process of a junior associate, but it's doing it in seconds. Now, it's worth pointing out that not all of these agents are built the same. You've got frameworks like Crew AI, which are perfect for straightforward, step-by-step tasks, kind of like a factory production line. But then you have others, like Microsoft's AutoGen, that act more like a team of experts having a discussion, which is way better for solving really complex, open-ended problems. It's all about picking the right tool for the job. All right, so it's fast, but is it any good? This brings us to a really crucial point, the quality of the work. We're not just talking about speed, we're talking about a level of precision that's pretty much impossible for a human to keep up at scale. I mean, anyone who spent hours staring at documents knows this feeling, right? The longer you go, the more tired you get, and the higher the chance you'll miss something small but critical. It's just the built-in flaw of doing high-volume manual work. We can call it the fatigue error. And this chart, wow, it really shows you the numbers. A human reviewer, even a great one, might see their accuracy drop to around 70% by the end of a long day. The AI agent, on the other hand, just stays at near-perfect consistency, hour after hour. For the AI, there is no long day. So let's just let that number sink in for a second. 99.9%. That's the rate of consistency an AI agent can deliver because it's grounded in your firm's specific knowledge. It never gets tired. It never gets distracted. It just executes. And look, we're not just talking about catching typos here. This is so much deeper. This kind of precision is about understanding deep legal context. The agent can score risk, it understands how important a specific clause is, and it can even flag if a contract is relying on a legal precedent that got overturned by the Supreme Court just last week. It's always anchored to the very latest information. Okay, now for the bottom line. let's get into the cold, hard numbers and talk about the huge financial impact of bringing in this digital workforce. So, in a big city, a legal intern with all the overhead can easily cost you $4,000 a month. A really good AI agent setup, maybe $350. We're not talking about a small discount here. This is a game-changing, more than 10x drop in cost. Now let's talk about scale. A really good human intern might be able to get through, say, 3 contracts in a full day. And the AI agent? How about 3,000 every single day? This isn't just about saving money anymore. This is a fundamental revolution in what a firm is even capable of doing. Okay, so this power is obviously immense. And that brings up some really important questions, right? With this kind of automation making decisions, where do we draw the ethical and legal lines here? What are the new rules of the road? And this is where we need to have a serious, balanced conversation. Labor advocates, like the Trades Union Congress, are proposing some really essential guardrails. Things like the right for employees to know what AI systems are being used on them, the right to understand how those AIs make decisions, protection from biased algorithms, and of course, clear rules about who is responsible when an AI causes harm. These aren't just minor suggestions. They're critical for making sure this is all rolled out responsibly. So what's the big takeaway here? It's not necessarily about replacing people. It's about reallocating them. When you automate all the tedious work at the bottom, you free up your most valuable asset, your people, your human capital, to focus on the things that machines just can't do. We're talking high-stakes strategy, delicate negotiations, and building real client relationships. This is what some people are calling the human premium. I love this quote because it just sums it all up perfectly. The job of the human expert is no longer to do the hard work of writing the first draft or doing that first painful review. The job is now to be the final judge, the strategic brain that critiques and guides the output of an incredibly precise machine. And that really leaves all of us with a big question to think about. As these AI agents get better and better at handling the what and the how of our jobs, the most important question for any of us becomes, what are the truly unique human skills, things like creativity, empathy, strategic judgment, that will actually define our value in this new world? All right, so we've covered the what and the why of agentic AI in the legal world. But that brings us to the real question, the one you're probably asking right now. How do I actually build this thing without having to become a computer scientist? Well, the answer is something we call a no-code legal architecture. And you could forget about complex programming. See, in today's world, those technical barriers that used to be like a solid stone wall, they've completely crumbled. The path to building your very own automated legal team is wide open, and it's waiting for you to start designing. And the process is actually surprisingly simple. It really just boils down to 2 key steps. First up is data ingestion. This is where you create what we call your source of truth. You feed the system your firm's most trusted documents, your absolute golden standard contracts, your best legal research. This grounds the AI, which means it's only allowed to use the information you gave it. And that right there completely eliminates the risk of it making things up. Then, step 2, you automate the workflows. You define the triggers. For instance, you can set a rule like, hey, when an email comes in with an attachment called NDA, just kick off the review agent. It's really that straightforward. Now, let's talk about what this really means for your workday. An agent can perform that entire first-pass review, apply your firm's exact redlining style, and drop a finished draft right onto your dashboard. Think about it. What used to take a junior associate 5 hours of tedious, painstaking work, you can now personally review and finalize in just 5 minutes. This isn't just a small improvement. This is a total revolution in what efficiency looks like. So here's the bottom line. We're moving way beyond just preparing for the next bar exam. We are literally architecting the next generation of legal practice itself. The competitive edge doesn't go to the person who can do the work of an agent anymore. It goes to the professional who can effectively manage a whole team of them. Okay, so with all this power, all this automation, that leads us to the most critical part of this whole equation. How do we maintain absolute ethical control and compliance? The answer is a framework we call the sovereign oversight. And this right here, this says it all. Just because your agents are autonomous doesn't mean you get to abdicate your role. As a sovereign counsel, the final professional responsibility always, and I mean always, remains with you. Technology is an incredibly powerful tool, but you are and always will be the final judge. So how do we make sure that happens? It's all built around a concept called human in the loop.
Now, this isn't just some tech jargon, it's the absolute central pillar of what we call algorithmic justice. It means you, the lawyer, maintain final control. You audit, you verify, and you apply your professional judgment to every single output the AI generates. Nothing leaves your office without your final expert sign-off, period.
And to make all this work, you need to build on a solid foundation of trust. And that foundation really rests on 4 pillars. You have to constantly audit your agents. Your data privacy protocols have to be completely impenetrable, and you must maintain full transparency. That means complying with all the latest regulations, like the NY Senate Bill S8420A, by clearly noting where AI assistance was used. You know, we don't hide the technology, we actually highlight it as a mark of superior quality and incredible speed.
Having all this in place allows you to make an incredibly powerful statement to your clients. You can look them in the eye and say with total confidence, I use the world's most advanced legal systems to ensure your protection, and I personally verify every single output. That combination of machine-level efficiency and irreplaceable human judgment, that's the new gold standard of legal service.
So, let's bring it all home. The future of law is, without a doubt, agentic. It's going to be a world of automated systems, intelligent workflows, and efficiency we can barely imagine today. But it is not a world without lawyers. In fact, the lawyer becomes more important than ever. The Sovereign Counsel is the one holding the keys to the entire machine.
You are in control. You are the architect. And you are the ultimate guarantor of justice. Thank you for joining me.